Welcome to Total Technik. Today working on the Audi Q7. The model that we have here is a 4L, and in this video we're going to be showing you how to remove your airbag. Let's get it done. So for the removal of the airbag, we need to make sure that we follow Audi's safety instruction guidelines when it comes to working on these airbag systems. And essentially what that means when it comes to working on these airbags is you must disconnect the negative connection on the car battery. The reason being is that an airbag needs both a positive and a negative to be able to fire. So by disconnecting the negative, that means that it's impossible for the airbag system to fire. And so therefore, once we have that negative connection disconnected, it's now safe to work on the airbag. However, before we do that, there's a couple of things that we need to bear in mind. First of all, we're going to move the steering wheel as far forward as possible and also as far down as possible to give us the best access to the fixings that are holding this airbag in place. And then in addition to that, on these cars, they have an electric steering lock. And so you actually need to leave the key in the ignition. So the process is going to be, we'll put the key in, we'll adjust the steering wheel as far forward, as far down as possible. And then whilst the key is in, we will disconnect the negative connection from the battery. So grab your key, put it in, turn it to position number 1. So next, move your steering wheel all the way forward, which ours already is, and all the way down. So the battery on the Q7 is actually located under the driver's seat, but don't worry, we don't have to strip all this down to access the battery itself. There's actually a shortcut for disconnecting the negative on these vehicles, which is exactly what Audi do when they ship these from when they're brand new. So first of all, just lift your mat up and slide that forward. Then we can see in front of the seat we've got these two plastic panels, one here towards the outside and one on the inside towards the centre console here. And the one that we need to remove is the inner one, the one tucked in right next to the centre console here. Now to remove this, it does have a couple of clips in it. Just get your fingers under the edge, just lift it straight up. You'll feel the clips pop out. The first one, there's the second one. That clip fell out there. I'm just going to slide that back in. That's what we have. We have these two metal clips here, and there's the little holes just in here that these slot into, one here and another here. But you can remove this plate without having to remove this panel. And then this is the shortcut that I mentioned for the negative battery terminal. If you disconnect this, it kills the negative supply completely from the battery. Quick word of warning when you disconnect this, very similar to when you're disconnecting it from the battery. When it touches and untouches the terminal, it may well spark, so be warned of that ahead of time. So when you remove it from the post, try and keep it as far away from the post as possible to stop it keep going back and touching it. And remember, at this stage we're going to be disconnecting this with the key in the ignition. That's very, very important because we need the steering lock to remain unlocked. So this gets disconnected with the key in the ignition still turned to position number 1. This is a size 13. I'm just pushing the strap down to make sure I keep connection. Let's remove the bolt cap off the top here. And lift this off. Put it to one side and push the mat back down on it to ensure that this can't come back and accidentally touch the post here. So we now need to rotate our steering wheel by 90 degrees. We need the sides facing directly upwards. So that's perfect there. So now if you have a look on the rear of the steering wheel, just above the cowl here, you'll be able to see there's actually a little hole in the rear of the steering wheel, and you'll be able to see there's like a metal bar in there, and we need to lever that metal bar. Now, as per the instructions in the Audi workshop manual, when you're levering this, you should not use a flathead screwdriver. The technical reason being but that flathead screwdriver, because obviously it's very narrow, might be able to slip in and cause damage to the wiring inside the airbag system. So instead they recommend to get a Torx size 25, which is exactly what we have here. The reason that they say this is because basically the end of it is round, and so it's not like a slot, and this size here, T25, is too big to fit between any of the components, so this won't be able to slip past anything like a flathead screwdriver might be able to. What you want to do is try and come in at a slight angle from behind it. You need to hook it onto the top of that metal bar, and then you're going to be levering it downwards. So we've now got this disconnected on the one side. Now if you're struggling, the key to it, when you hook onto that metal bar that's going across the back, if you hook in behind it, what can happen as you push it down, you actually get stuck in behind it, and then obviously the airbag can't move forward. So what you've got to try and do is actually come on the bar, push it down without coming in behind it. And then once you manage to slide it down, force it down, pin it down as hard as you can, and then come and give this a bit of a wiggle on the side, and that will move that bar forward, and it will come from within this. But if you're hooked in behind it, obviously that can't move forward. So that's the main thing to bear in mind. So now I need to rotate this through 180 degrees, so we can do exactly the same on the clip on the opposite side. And do remember that on this second clip, when you push it, obviously that's going to release on this side. You can't just remove the airbag straight away from the car. We do have electrical connectors connected to the rear of the airbag. So again, come in on that metal bar, push it down, but don't be sure not to come in behind it. Pin it down and then move the front there. Now if you pull your airbag gently forward, I'll show the electrical connectors. Now the main one, you'll notice when you look in there yourself, there are two electrical connectors on the back of the airbag itself. You want to ignore those. The one that you're looking for is this yellow one tucked in at the back here. Now you notice on this yellow connector you've got this little purple tab just here. What you need to do is you need to come in behind that, lift that purple tab up, that's a little locking tab, and then you'll be able to remove this connector. There's the yellow connector. It takes a bit of a wiggle to get it out, but there you go. And also if you do have Tiptronic, like we have on this one, you're going to have an extra electrical connector hidden in just behind it here. And on this electrical connector, you see we've got a little security pin. You can see a little metal bit just in the centre there. So we need to ensure that we lift this plastic up a little bit so that we can slide the plug out. So we can lift it up just enough. Give it a bit of a push forward at the same time. That's disconnected. Now if you are struggling to get the airbag disconnected, here's a quick view of how these fixings work. So on the rear of the airbag, literally we have these metal bars. And what you're doing when you're pushing in from the back, you're actually pushing these in directly in this direction, in towards the centre of the airbag. And this is actually hooked over this little metal bracket here in the back of the steering wheel. So what you need to do is push that metal bar down so it aligns with the slot here, and then once it's aligned, that's when you grab the airbag and you give it a bit of a pull from the front. But that's literally all we're trying to do, is to unhook this metal bar from this small catch here at the back of the wheel. And so that's your airbag removed from the car and good to go. So to refit the airbag, we need to reconnect the wiring. Remember, we've got this square connector here, which you may or may not have, depending on what options you have on your car. Then we've got the main yellow connector here, and this does have this security tab. So remember, once this is fitted in, you must snap that security tab back into place. So when you connect this square one up, which connects into the bottom, you can kind of see there's a little place for it to slot into. So you've kind of got to get it fitted, but then also get that stuck back in the right position in the centre lower half of the wheel here. So just make sure you don't leave this connector flapping around, because you may struggle to get the airbag back on. It should be fitted nice and properly into the little slot there. So on this square connector you've got the metal part, which is only on the one side, and in the middle of that you've got that little lump, that little bump there, and that needs to come through the hole, which is actually on the back. So that's the way around that we need to connect this up. Space will be limited, to make sure your airbag's up the right way. The word airbag we got here, obviously that needs to be so you can read it. And then we're going to plug this yellow connector back in and then snap in the security plug. Then just feed your airbag slowly back into place. We need to get these two metal arms that we removed earlier. They're going to snap back in over those little tabs in the back of the wheel. So if you can kind of feel when they're in there. You'll be in the right place. You're not down too low, you're not up too high. Those tabs kind of lock almost into place there. The whole thing should feel right, and then we can give it a push. And note there is a little bit of movement in it, so if yours is sat a little bit low, like mine is here, I can just see that. You just manipulate it into place a little bit. You should be able to get a nice finish like that. And there we have it, that is job done. If this video has been helpful, please be sure to at the very least hit that like button for us to help us out in return. And also be sure to hit that subscribe button. We've got hundreds of Audi and VW videos on our channel and on our website, just waiting for you to take a look at. And if we've really helped you out, please don't forget there is the super thanks option. Thanks for watching, we'll see you again.